Hey, what's up guys? I'm going to give you a 0 to 60 in a stock 2022 VB generation WRX. I don't really have a GPS time or anything, so I'm going to go off of like, the clip. Alright, kind of in a good spot for 0 to 60, so let's go. So we reached 12.9 peak PSI boost. Alright, that was like probably like a 5 or 8 mile an hour to 60. So my launch wasn't very good, so take that as what you will with your time for proper 0 to 60. Granted that you won't be doing that on the road hardly ever. So that last roll from like 5 or 8 miles an hour to 60 was probably more of an accurate 0 to 60 time for most people, since I'm not launching it from a dig every single time. But I wanted to go over more of the cars I was looking at. So I was looking at the Tundra TRD Pro mainly, Lexus IS 500, and I didn't like that it was only rear-wheel drive. Also, you couldn't find one because they had just came out. I kind of entertained the idea of an Acura TLX Type S, so 355 horsepower, 300 and some pounds-feet of torque. It was pretty good. 0 to 60 was low fives, high fours. I think they had a manual option too, but it just never piqued my interest for the price. About $55,000–$60,000 for an Acura that was not really a performance vehicle either, kind of just a jack-of-all-trades vehicle. Then I went to Subaru. I called them up, my local dealership, and I think there was 2 bases in this limited, and I was originally just looking at the base, but then some of the upgrades in here, I have a video on the differences between the premium and limited, but I was just going to go for a base or a premium, but the limited options did entice me a bit, and they gave me like $12 grand, $11,000 for my 2015 WRX with 120,000 miles on it. That was a great car for me, but it was just ready to upgrade. Gave this to me for MSRP. Actually might be below MSRP with all the options that I have on it. I was out the door in 2 hours with the car, taking it home. It was a great experience. That's probably one of the points where I'm at in my life is, a good dealership goes almost as far as a good car does anymore. Granted, I have my preference for cars, but the only reason I'd even want a Lexus is because my wife's car that we bought a few years ago, it was from a Lexus dealership, and they treated us extremely well. Even though it was just a used car on their lot, they treated us very well, and I always thought, if that's the type of experience they do for a used car, that gives you a good sign of who they are as a dealership, and I'd work with them again. But like I said, I couldn't get an IS 500 at that time, and I'm not sure about the rear-wheel drive only option for where I live. 2 hours later, after the Subaru dealership, I'm driving it home, and it's a great experience. Even though it's not necessarily exactly what I wanted at this point in my life, but because I've already had this kind of car, and I knew I wanted something slightly either more performance or just more utilitarian, and it didn't happen. But I'm glad I got this car, and I'm glad I had a great experience with it. And so far, knock on wood, I have not had any problems with this car. It's performed well, it's functioned well, it's great at off-roading, great all-wheel drive system, pretty good gas mileage, and the engine is stout. You can definitely tell it's a pretty good powertrain in this car. And Subarus are notoriously reliable, and you get good resale on them, so that's always a plus whenever you keep a car for 5 years or so, and then you go to trade it in, and it's like, oh well, it's still worth something. Unlike a family SUV or something is going to be worth nothing almost when you trade that thing in. And I was really only considering the Acura because it came with a bit more stock horsepower, which I was really hoping that the new generation STI would also be released with this generation WRX, but that didn't happen. So I was not overly excited to get back into just another WRX with a few more horsepower, but this car has been pretty good. It has a better tune on it for sure. It's a smoother ride, smoother car in general. It's more refined, it's more luxurious inside. So I was kind of looking at the Tundras, Acura TLXs, Lexus IS 500. I didn't really want the 350. It's just not much of an upgrade from this car, to be honest, for performance-wise. And I don't think the GR Corolla was really overly announced yet. I mean, it was announced, but it wasn't like, you know, it was coming out anytime soon. And I was pretty in the mood to get a new car, so I wasn't gonna wait 6 months for one. And I got a pretty good interest rate on it. And I know I'm not the typical WRX owner of, I'm gonna have the hat and stuff. I don't vape, just kidding. But I'm not really looking to mod it or anything like that. I do use it for daily driving to work every day. You know, I pick up my daughter in it sometimes. We take some shorter road trips in this thing. I just would rather have it mostly stock. I think the most I would ever do to this car is probably an axle back exhaust, maybe an intake, but I know I would probably need a tune for that. And I really just don't want to deal with warranty issues if I have a tune on the car. Since my last WRX, it had some warranty work done on it, and they were, granted I didn't have it tuned, and they were very adamant that if there was a tune on it for the type of warranty work, that they weren't going to honor it, which, you know, that's stupid. But I just, at this point in my life, I'd rather keep it stock. I'd rather just buy it from the factory how it should be, maybe do some wheels or slight small cosmetic stuff anymore. But I got over that, the whole tuning and working on cars over about 10 years ago, whenever I pretty much ruined my first real car that I ever bought myself. It was a 3G Eclipse, and I turboed that thing. It was a naturally aspirated 4-cylinder, 2.4 liter, and I had to take the power steering pump out of it to make the turbo fit into the header area of the engine, and that thing was just never ran right. It was a piggyback ECU on it. It was never tuned properly because it was just me doing it. And I had a full exhaust on it and stuff, and wheels. But after that car, I think it definitely more promoted my idea of I'd rather just buy it from the factory how I want it to be. I guess we can just keep doing these little acceleration clips too. Might as well since I'm out. Never mind. Fucking traffic. Alright, let's see if we can get a little bit better of a launch this time. Nope. Let's try it again. Not bad. So again, we reached 12.9 pounds of boost. That was under what I would say full acceleration from a dig to 60, so 0 to 60. It's not the best launch. I mean, I'm not the best at launching it because I don't do this that often. I more do just, you know, second, third gear pulls, and then after that, it's kind of like I'm either breaking the law or I don't need to go that fast. Like the fastest I've ever been in this car is probably 95, 90 maybe, so. That was in Mexico, of course, too.